Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 14th November 2021. Let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, so these are the important articles. First of all, we will take overview of all these articles and then we will discuss them one by one in detail. So first of all, mains related articles you can see on FAQ page number 14. There is one article explaining about two important initiatives recently launched by our Prime Minister. So these are RBI launched initiatives, retail direct scheme, and one of the scheme talks about the integrated or single ombudsman scheme. Okay, we'll discuss this from GS3 paper economy part, why these schemes were launched, what are the benefits to the individual or small investors, and how the government is going to benefiting from these schemes. Then Glasgow summit runs into extra time. So on the last moment when the final draft was not finalized by these countries, one day extension was given to this COP26 that is going on in the Glasgow. So yes, one day extension, what particular draft is talking about, what was India's let's say intervention into the last moment into that particular wordings of draft, right? All these aspects we will cover here. GS3 paper environment section for both mains as well as prelims examination. Then US lawmakers meet Prime Minister Modi ahead of S-400 defense systems delivery from Russia. So we will try to know about this. Yes, obviously it was being said that the delivery of this S-400 defense systems from Russia will attract some sanctions under CATS Act of US. So yes, some of the US lawmakers, they are lobbying for giving waiver to India. So this is important from GS2 paper IR section. Then 26 Naxals killed in Gadchiroli district of Maharashtra. Okay, so yes, this is important news from GS3 paper. Internal security part, Naxalism or left-wing extremism, it is part of our syllabus, and such ambushes are happening in different parts of the country. And yes, the deaths are happening on both parts. Sometimes Naxals get killed, sometimes police personnel gets killed. We need to have follow-up on such instances in different parts of the country. Then for specifically prelims examination, the magazine supplement on Sunday's newspaper is important. Generally history and environment or culture related, let's say, articles are there. There is one article talking about the Himalayan marmots on page number 7. So there was one question this year in prelims examination which talked about the protective behavior of some of the animals and the scales and when they roll up. Okay, so there was marmots, one of the option was marmots. Okay, so that's why we have to cover also the basic information about Himalayan marmots. We will try to cover for prelims examination. Then Mughal literature. Yes, there is one article which talks about the Mughal literature on page number 4 of this magazine. So it is important for prelims examination, art and culture as well as history part. And finally, practice prelims MCQ. Yes, let us discuss in detail about all these articles. First article on FAQ page, it's talk about this retail direct scheme that was launched recently by our Prime Minister. Now this scheme launched by, we can say, RBI, initiative of RBI. What is this particular scheme? We will first of all talk about this. Okay, retail direct scheme, it talks about providing access to gilt edge market. So this access is given to, let's say, small investors or individual investors to this gilt edge market. Now what is gilt edge market? This gilt edge market is basically related to buying and selling of government securities. G securities generally we call GSEC. Okay, or government bonds. So these government bonds, treasury bonds or government securities, they are sold in this gilt edge market, and up till now there was no access to the individual investors to this market. Through this particular retail direct scheme, basically small investors will be able to buy and sell or invest in those bonds, government securities. Okay, so this is very unique, and now how it will benefit small investors and individuals. This will benefit the small investors because it is a kind of, let's say, investment by these investors. Suppose I am a person, I want to invest in the government securities. I will now directly invest in a particular government security. Up till now, what used to happen is I will invest in mutual fund, and the mutual fund will further invest in the government security. So that was indirect. That's why the word used direct, and retail means now the individual level, small investors, they will be investing in that. It is kind of like, let's say, keeping a fixed deposit in the bank and then earning the returns in terms of interest. Now, benefit here in this particular aspect is that there are assured returns because the government is releasing these government securities, right? So there will not be any default on behalf of government. So these are assured returns on this. The second aspect is more interest as compared to banks, fixed deposits. So interest rates on these bonds, these securities is comparatively higher than the fixed deposit interest rates by these banks. So these two benefits. What is the benefit of having such scheme for the government? So government will be able to raise, we can say, money, or we can say funds for infrastructure, investment in the infrastructure and other aspects, we can say. Okay, so in this manner we are basically the government is raising money or funds for the for its development related infrastructure. How can individual access this government securities offerings? So how it will be implemented? Basically there will be a portal by RBI, and on that portal there will be account opening by individual after, let's say, satisfying certain documents, some criteria. Maybe the KYC norms will be there, and after that the individual can start investing with minimum amount of rupees of 10,000 and then its multiples. Minimum 10,000 rupees is required, the investment here. Okay, why was it necessary to introduce this scheme? Yes, it necessary in terms of raising the, or we can say broad basing the GSEC market, gilt edge market or government security market. Up till now there was narrow base. Now opening it to the small investor or individuals, basically we are broad basing this government security market. So this was the major, and then through this obviously the more the borrowing from the market by the government through this securities will be beneficial. Fine. So this was first scheme. Now why RBI is setting up integrated ombudsman? Up till now there were 3 ombudsmen by the RBI. So these 3, one for, let's say, banks, second for NBFCs, and third was for payment systems, prepaid payment systems. Okay, so there were 3 ombudsmen. Ombudsman is basically the authority for the grievance redressal of the consumers. Okay, so for banking system and specifically NBFCs, all this, there is ombudsman scheme of the RBI, and there are 3 ombudsmen up till now. Now by integrating these 3 ombudsmen into one single integrated ombudsman, the RBI wants to bring clarity in the process, and it wants to reduce the hurdles faced by the people in accessing this ombudsman and getting redresses of their grievances. Okay, so basically this is the intention behind the integrated ombudsman. Now how does it work? So basically there will be one ombudsman and deputy ombudsman. They will be appointed by RBI for term of 3 years. And yes, the other processes, filing of complaint to these ombudsman can be done in a physical manner or through the RBI office, or there can be the complaint management system is there on the website of RBI. Okay, so in this manner there can be, let's say, a redressal of grievances of the people related to banking system through this integrated ombudsman now. So these grievances will be dealt in a central manner. Okay, so these are the reforms brought in the banking sector. Fine. So this can be asked in GS3 paper, significance of this scheme, retail direct scheme, or this can be asked in the prelims examination also about the government security market in general. Fine. Okay. Now Glasgow summit runs into extra time. Okay, so what happened at the last moment is, basically it was supposed to end on 12th November, but extended into the 13th November. Why? Because India intervened at the last moment to state that it was not very happy with the existing text, especially on sections that suggested phasing out of subsidies on coal. Okay, the word was, let's say, completely phasing out, and that was creating problem. A key demand from several island nations and the countries in African Union has been the establishment of Glasgow facility that would provide money to the countries already suffering from the impacts of climate change. Now this such Glasgow facility was not finalized in the final draft. Rather than, so let's say it would have been the part of adaptation fund to be financed by developed countries. However, the latest text does not commit to any such facility. Only promises regular dialogues and technical assistance. Also, the draft urges developed countries to fully deliver on 100 billion US dollars goal urgently and through to 2025, and emphasis on importance of transparency in implementation of their pledges. This is the draft text that we have up till now, and the final draft we will, when it will come out, we will again discuss that final draft as an outcome of this COP26. Now US lawmakers meet Mr. Modi ahead of S400 delivery. Now we know that by the year end there will be delivery of this S400 defense systems that we purchased from Russia. These are surface to air missile defense systems. Okay, and now this US congressional delegation came to India and Prime Minister met with them. The Russian missile system will increase India's chances of coming under CATSA sanctions, countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act. Okay, so whenever, let's say, US consider a particular deal, defense deal, agreement of its partner countries as adversary to its own security, its own interests, then it can put some sanctions under this particular act. Okay, now some of the Republican senators have already moved a bill to exempt India from possible CATSA sanctions for taking the delivery of S-400 missile systems. Okay, so US is yet to decide on whether there will be CATSA sanctions or not. Maybe they have discussed through these congressional delegations, but the outcome statement does not specifically talk about that. Okay, yes. We should be aware about such development in GS2 paper IR section. 26 Naxals killed in Gadchiroli. So for developments that are happening, you can see the northeast Maharashtra, Gadchiroli district, densely forested area here with border with Chhattisgarh. Okay, so yes, this tri-junction that we have with Chhattisgarh, then MP is there, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha is there, right? So these are the tri-junctions of these states that creates the major problem, and these are the mainstays of, let's say, Naxalist activities in Maharashtra, northeastern districts like Gadchiroli. So at least 26 Naxals were killed in an encounter with the Maharashtra police in the early hours on 30th November at Mardintola forest near Korchi in Gadchiroli district. You can see the location in the map. Now, it is being said that Milind Teltumbe, who is also one of the wanted accused in Bhima Koregaon case, the member of Maoist Central Committee, was suspected to be among those dead here. But police are yet to confirm that. Fine. So, as a follow-up, you should be aware about this situation. Now, there will be many such articles. There we can expect the editorial on Monday's newspaper. So, obviously, there will be more discussion about the Naxalism. It is part of GS3 paper internal security part, right? Yes. Now, Himalayan marmots. Yes. So, there is one article on magazine page. It talks about this Himalayan marmots. So it is marmot species that inhabits alpine grasslands throughout the Himalayas and on Tibetan plateau. Okay, so IUCN conservation status is least concern because the wide range and possibly huge number. Okay, now they have dense woolly fur on them, one of the largest marmot species in the world, and it is as big as house cat. Then Himalayan marmots lives in a short grass steppes or alpine habitats, typically above tree line but below the permanent slow limit. You can understand in Himalayas the habitation the vegetation goes on changing from according to the altitude, right? So above the tree line there will be alpine grasslands, right? So steppes will be there, and above that there will be permanent snow line. So in between that we can expect that between 3000 to 5000 feet. So in that range these marmot species are found. They live in the colonies, excavate deep burrows, and colony members share during the hibernation. So on an average 7.5 months of hibernation is done by this species during the winter time. On the Tibetan plateau, marmot species form the part of snow leopard prey. So basically it is prey for snow leopard, Tibetan wolves, red fox, right? So also some of the birds of prey, they prey on these marmots. Okay, so you can see the photograph there, and also look at the question that was asked by UPSC this year. Okay, so consider the following animals: hedgehog, marmot, pangolin. Now, to reduce the chance of being captured by the predators, which of the above organisms rolls up and protects their vulnerable parts? Okay, so when we had this discussion, you can see on YouTube our channel. So we had discussion of geography and environment section. So there I had explained about this. The pangolin and hedgehog, they roll up whenever there is threat. They feel the threat from outside. While marmot, actually they immediately go into their burrows when they feel any kind of threat. Okay, suppose there is a dog, and then if the dog is trying to catch the marmot, they immediately go into their own burrows. Okay, so while the hedgehog will roll up and there are spines on the skin of that hedgehog. The same is the pangolin. Okay, so answer was 1 and 3 here in this particular question. So whenever UPSC is providing the options, you try to find out the information about marmots. Next year, maybe after 1 year, 2 year, there can be question related to that. This is how we need to study for our prelims examination. Okay, now moving on, Mughal literature. So one article which talks about the Mughal literature in magazine page. So quickly some facts we need to revise for prelims examination, which is the important Mughal literature. Yes, Tuzuk-e-Babri, autobiography of Babur in Turki language. Okay, it gives details about flora and fauna of India. Then Baburnama is translation of of Tuzuk-i-Babri in Persian language by Abdur Rahim Khane Khana. By Abdur Rahim Khane Khana. Then Humayun Nama, biography of Humayun written by Gulbadan Begum. Okay, so she was daughter of Babar, Gulbadan Begum, and brother of Humayun, sister of Humayun, not brother, yes, Gulbadan Begum, and she wrote this Humayun Nama in Persian language. Tuzuk-i-Jahangiri is basically autobiography of Jahangir. Now Abul Fazl, he wrote Akbar Nama. He was the poet of the court of Akbar, right? Abul Fazl, very famous. So he wrote Akbar Nama and in a Akbari, right? So administration book is there during the reign of Akbar. Then Mahabharata was translated under the supervision of Abul Faizi, the brother of Abul Fazl. Then Dara Shikoha translated Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads into Persian language. His most famous work is Majma'ul Bahrain. Then Badauni translated Mahabharata into Persian language as Raznama. Okay, so he was bitter critic of Akbar. Remember the name Badauni. Now Tulsidas, we all know, Hindi poet, and he wrote Hindi version of Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas. Okay, and finally Jagannath Pandit Raya, the court poet of Shah Jahan, has written 2 Sanskrit books. Which are these? Ganga Lahari and Rasa Gangadharan. Okay, so on the basis of this information, try to attempt this MCQ also. Match the following. Okay, so options here A, B, C, D is missing actually. This is clerical mistake. Yes. So which of the pairs given are correctly matched? We have to find the correctly matched. Now Akbar Nama, Abul Fazl. Yes, this is correct. Then Raznama, Dara Shikoha. This is incorrect, right? Raznama is not written by Dara Shikoha. It is written by Badauni. And then Humayun Nama, Gulbadan Begum. Yes, this is correct. So that's why 1 and 3 is correct. Option C is correct here, 1 and 3. Fine. So in this manner, some factual information is very important for history and art and culture, and you need to have more and more revisions for that purpose. History, art and culture part, we require more and more revisions because lot of information that you have to read here, and UPC in prelims examination asks such kind of question from art and culture, architecture aspects, and even ancient and medieval history. Generally it is very difficult to find such answers to those questions. So basically you should have clarity of knowledge, and for that purpose you need to revise whatever you are reading, those sources again and again. Fine. Okay, so these are the important articles. We can stop now. Thank you.